Now, in every one of the letters that we've been looking at, Jesus gives us something to look forward to. He ends every letter with a message of hope. I love that about Jesus. And we really need that in these days and times. We need hope. He gives us something to anticipate in the future. Look what he says in verse 21 and 22. To him who overcomes, I will give the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Now, I love this passage because in verse 21, Jesus refers to himself as an overcomer. He's like us. Are you following me? When he was here on this earth, he faced trouble. He had problems. He also had to deal with temptations. And guess what? He overcame those things. And because he is an overcomer, listen to this, because Jesus is an overcomer, you and I also have the power within us to overcome those same things. And because of that, he says, here's the promise. You're going to get to sit with me on my Father's throne, just like I will sit on the throne. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12 says, and if we think that our present service for him is hard, just remember that someday we are going to sit with him and rule with him. I think that's great. It tells us what to do when times get hard, when life gets difficult. You need to look to the promises of God. Remember what he promises. And what does he promise? You get to sit with him on his throne. But, just listen to this. You can't sit with Jesus on his throne until Jesus is first sitting in the throne of your life. You can't expect to rule with Jesus in heaven unless he's first ruling your life here on this earth. Does that make sense? You can't expect to reign with Jesus if Jesus isn't ruling and reigning in your heart right now. You see, when I read the Bible about Jesus, this is what I find. He was crucified. Remember the cross? And the Bible says it was between two thieves. In other words, the cross of Jesus was in the center. I don't think that was a mistake. I don't believe that was an accident. I believe that was God's design. God designed the crucifixion in such a way to help the entire world understand and realize that Jesus needs to be at the center of our life. And I want to illustrate that. How do you make Jesus the center of your life? Well, you know what this is? How many of you know what this is? It's a level, right? And I believe this level is a great illustration for how we need to make Jesus the center of our life. So I want you to think about this. Our life sometimes gets out of balance. So people use a level, to put things into balance, to level them. So if you're putting up a picture, you can put a level on the wall above the picture, and you can tell, if it's level or not, if it's going to be crooked or if it's going to be straight. If you're a carpenter and you're putting up beams or whatever, you point it this direction, you put it up against the beam, and you can tell if it's going to be level or crooked. Sometimes our life gets out of level. Sometimes you're just living your life and you're doing things in this life that cause your life to get out of balance with Jesus. That's happened with me. I don't know about you. I've been so focused on my ministry sometimes that my life got out of balance with my family. Are you following me? See, you might get so focused on your career, your job, that you lose your focus on Jesus Christ. So your life is out of whack. It's out of balance. Some of the parents, they just let their kids, just do all kinds of sporting activities. It's sports on Friday. It's sports on Saturday. It's sports on Sunday. Sports. And what happens is, because of all the sports, their life is out of balance when it comes to Jesus. Are you following me? Are you getting the picture? So how do you know when your life is in balance? Well, it's the same way when you look at this level. You see, on this level, in all three of these places, there's this little area right here, here, and here, where there's a tube with some water in it. And in the tube is a bubble. And on the tube are two lines. If I was to go this way, there'd be a line like this and like this. And if I went this way, there'd be a line like this and this. How do I know when something is level, in balance? Well, I try to put the bubble between the two lines. Are you listening? How do I know when my life is in balance with Jesus? It's when he's at the center of my life. See, if my life is out of whack like this, the bubble's not going to be centered. It's going to be over here. It's when I bring my life into balance, the bubble comes to the center. That's where Jesus needs to be, at the center of my life. Are you following me? I believe this is a great illustration for how to bring your life into balance, making it level with Jesus Christ. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 20 and 22, it says this: God raised him from the dead, set him on a throne in deep heaven, in charge of running the universe, everything from galaxies to governments. No name and no power exempt from his rule. And not just for the time being, but forever. He is in charge of it all, has the final word on everything. At the center of all this, Christ rules the church. So here's the question, folks. We're going to just wrap this up right now and conclude. Is Jesus at the center of your life? Or is your life out of balance with Jesus? Is he sitting on the throne of your life? Or have you pushed him off, and are you sitting on that throne on your own?